Cool. We are going to get started. I've got a little note here that says a bunch of the things. Returns, credits, after the fact on invoices, doing invoice transfers, finishing up the process, kind of that Kate had started, doing the whole process start to finish, and then location-specific inventory. Location-specific inventory is technically the same thing as transfers, okay? It just has a different word. So like, say I had multiple locations and I had inventory at one and not at another one, you actually can use the same vendor, the same items, but they could be spread out for different locations. And then you could even transfer them back and forth. So when we do transfers, that's what we'll kind of talk about there. I was thinking that the best thing to do right now would be the whole process, start to finish, on some items. What do you guys think? Okay, awesome. We are currently right here in Microsoft Word. What we're going to do is to get an item in, we're going to have a vendor, a PO, and an item eventually, okay? So I'm just going to kind of list a few things right here. A vendor, a PO, which is kind of our vehicle, and then eventually an item, aka a part. Okay, and remember the word part, we can actually change it to whatever we want. MMJ items, supplies, we can change a bunch of these setting type things, okay? Awesome. The way that things are structured, just to kind of help us get things in, is it usually goes like this. You have a category, and then you have vendors, and then you actually have your items, okay? This is kind of how things are structured, getting things kind of coming into the system. This makes sense. So in order for us to do a little small demo, let's figure out what we want to bring in. Do we want to stay with the same demo site that we've been playing? Are you guys okay with that?
Finish that plant off.
Okay, so yeah, we will finish that plant off. What I'd like to do right now is basically say we are going to go get some product for our shop, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to get the product, we're going to bring it in, make sure we have the correct vendors, and then we're going to actually start selling it. But I want to show you kind of the whole, from start to finish, the whole process of what's going on. Let's pretend that our current demo site that we're in right now is the Bob Marley play site. Just kind of it's an MMJ dispensary, and they've got a bunch of stuff. What's a common item that we could potentially get that we would want to kind of pull in and show you through the entire process? Could be a generic item like the lighters that we did, or it could be specific, like, hey, this has got to be from a certain person or thing.
Why don't we do a Chiba Shoes, since everyone knows Chiba Shoes?
Okay. Now.
And they come in like that hybrid.
Okay. Okay. So, what category would that be under?
It would be a gummy.
Okay. Like that?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And the vendor was, what was it again?
Chiba Shoe.
C-H-E-B.
Shoes. Sorry. A. Yep. And shoe. No.
Like that? Num-num? Okay. And what are some of the items that they would actually have?
Indica, sativa, or hybrid roll.
Is that how you spell indica?
Yep.
And sativa, how do you spell that?
A-T-I-V-A.
Okay. What else? These are physically the items. Is that what they're actually called? And, okay. You can tell how much I know about this kind of stuff, huh?
You're going to have to work.
So, does this make sense? Our category is going to be a gummy. We're going to have a vendor called Chiba Chews. The Inca and the Sativa, those are going to physically be our items. Now, how many of these Incas are we going to actually get?
About 25.
25. Okay, and what's roughly the cost on these things?
$6.
$6 per. And what are we going to sell them for?
$10.
$10. Okay, awesome. Does that make sense? Okay, so on the Sativa, how many are we getting there?
Let's duplicate it.
Okay, 25. What's the cost on those?
7. Sativas take longer to grow.
Okay. And so how much is the price that we're going to sell them for?
11.
$11. Okay, does that seem pretty straightforward? Not a big deal, right? So let's pretend that that's our goal. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, now is this all that we're doing? Just one PO with 2 items? Is that the goal? Okay, perfect. Watch this. So let's go like this. I'm going to come into the site here. We got a bunch of tabs open. I'm just going to kind of close a few just so it doesn't look quite so confusing. Okay, I'm right here. I'm going to go to the home page, and we're going to start right from here. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I want to go check to make sure that I actually have this category in the system. Okay? So that's going to be my first little check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come here and I'm going to go to my items homepage, which is virtually my parts homepage. Okay? I'm going to go here and I'm going to click under here. If I have the admin permission, I can click under my categories. What do I have? And let's see. Okay, so I'm looking down here. I don't see any gummies. Alrighty? So what I would do is I would come right up here and I would go like this. G-U-M-M-Y. Okay, pretty easy. This is the category. This is way at the upper level. Okay, add that category.
So, sorry to interrupt. Any reason you couldn't just pick edibles?
I mean, you could,
Okay.
but if you wanted to have everything more specifically categorized for quick searches, things like that, and also just for inventory purposes, then you can lump it into categorize. It's based on what you want. So if you only want all your stuff to be under edibles, cannabis, or concentrates, then those are the categories you create.
Correct. So basically, I just wanted to just make sure that we had the category. I'm kind of prepping it a little bit. Now the next thing I'm going to do is right here. I know that we just got something from, how do you pronounce it again? Chiba?
Chiba.
Chiba. Chiba Choose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say vendor. Let's see if I've got it. C-H-E. Just a quick little generic search. Go see it? Okay, it comes down here. It says, hey, this is a business. It probably didn't actually find me what I was actually looking for. Okay, it did this, C-H-E, so it grabbed right here, Sanchez. Does that make sense, how it just did a certain part? Like, okay, cool. Guess what? I've got to add a new vendor. We'll hit add the new vendor, and we'll type it in here. Chiba Choose, and let's pretend that we knew the address. Pretend, and pretend that they are in Denver. And we'll go Colorado, and we'll just put them under the zip. Say we actually knew what these values were, okay? So that takes care of my required fields. This is a little interesting right here. I just wanted to draw your attention. So these three, you can notice that it has a little asterisk up here by the business name. What it does is it says I either need a business name or a first-last name combo, okay? So technically all three of those are kind of grouped together, if that makes sense.
And to kind of interject, for your 402, it's just nice to have on hand because you are legally required to know who you're dealing with and that they're legally licensed with the state. I always put my 402 in my account number, and then the EIN, you can also put their business sales tax license if you have those documents as well, which you should, because that's compliance. But I know it's not more specific than that, but whatever works for you and whatever you're going to remember that's going to be consistent.
Okay, so this is on the vendor piece right here, okay? And I'm going to hit add that payee. Click. So technically I now have my vendor. It gave me a new number inside the system, so this is its kind of name. Forever and ever and ever throughout the system, this ID number is associated now with Chiba Chew, okay? That's kind of what happens. So now what I wanted to do is I technically now have the vendor, I know I've got the category, and now I need to actually add this PO. So I'm currently on this right here. Because I added it and I didn't say add a new PO, I just went to check to see if it was there, I would actually click this little link right here, create a new PO. Okay, we've got to get this thing started. Create the PO. What it does is it drags the vendor into the first part of the PO. And we're going to basically do a basic live. This is going to be a vendor-specific item that we're going to create for these people. Okay, we're going to come down. If you have multiple locations, you would select your location. And then we're going to come in here and say new products from Chiba. And whatever you wanted to put in there, okay? We're going to come down here. I don't physically know what it's going to be. We're going to end up coming back to this, okay? So on purpose, I'm going to go like this. 0, a.k.a. I'm going to fix you later. And then if they gave us an invoice number, I could put it in there. And I'm going to say, I do have this in my system. This should look very familiar to what we did earlier today, okay? Lots of PO stuff. I'm going to say add it. Click. So I now have my PO. 636 is my number. It's tied to Chiba, and it's currently under a basic live PO. So these are my pieces. I don't really have anything else going on right now. Now what I need to do is just kind of flip over and say, oh, my next one is going to be the Inca. Did I spell that? I-N-D? Okay. So I check. It says, oh, I don't have it. No problem. We're going to add it. Click. And what was my quantity that I said that I had? I got 25 of those guys. Okay, so I'm going to go right here. 25 INDICA. Okay, this is a special little piece right here, okay? This inventory type, is it normal, meaning a physical, or is it a special or like an unlimited? So like a lot of the stuff that the pool guys do, they'll actually create unlimited items because they're going to sell anything that they want to put on their invoice over and over and over again. Resurfacing, plastering, like that's an unlimited item. Does that make sense? It's just that teeny little flip, but that's what makes it flip-flop between a physical.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
Yesterday I got a PO from some stuff we got, but at the very bottom there were black bags that we use in the store for customers to send out the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
So would I put that under there because we're really not selling them? It's for store use only?
Okay, so that's a great thing. That's actually an accounting question. Now anything that you bring in through a PO technically becomes inventory. If you don't care about that, what you could technically do is bring all your pieces in, and then you can even expense that other part off. Kind of like, hey, I'm just going to do what's called expensing it. Like, I don't want to track it. Like, you don't have to bring it in as a. What happens when you get that? It's kind of like what's called a supply. Okay,
Yeah.
So you could kind of treat it as a supply.
So would you pick that one about not monitoring the ins and outs?
Okay, what I would actually recommend that you do is actually just, if you wanted to make your PO look really pretty so it matches exactly their thing, you do real inventory, and then you add a special line item called a supply to kind of make sure that everything fits, but it doesn't really give it a physical value to track. Okay?
Yeah, because if you don't attach a barcode to auto, it does a DESC, which it won't even pull up in the system as a part.
Okay, the DESC is a description label instead of a barcode label. Okay, cool, great. I love it. Good stuff. 25 of them. Got Inca. We are going to monitor quantities. Now, guess what? Because we prepped the system, I should be able to find gummy in here now. So I click here. There's my gummy right there. Okay, click gummy. Okay, help me out, Kate. What do we have here for the description on this?
74 milligrams, 4 doses, chocolate.
Something like that? Okay, great. We come down. We knew that this was $6. And the reason is we just ordered this stuff, okay? It was $6 per. Okay, I also know, now watch this. This little blue thing up here will kind of help me know what's going on. This is helping me calculate stuff that's happening. If I put in $10 right here, and as soon as I move out of that field, it automatically will start updating some of my pieces. So technically that's at a 1.67 markup from 6 to 10. It's trying to help me do some math. So you could actually play with it if you're like, oh my goodness, I need to at least cover more than that. You could even up it. I just wanted to show you, as soon as I move out of this field, it automatically is helping me know where I'm at as far as my margins. Okay? We said that we were going to go 10. Okay, eaches, are these eaches? Okay, and taxable will come down. Do we want to add a barcode, yes or no? We can even do it later if we needed to. We wanted to add a, okay, let's do auto right now. So, real quick side trip. On barcodes, you have 3 options. The product can already have one. Beep. You can make up your own. Jimi Hendrix, okay? You can say auto and we'll create one for you. So you have 3 kind of basic options, okay? So just for fun, I'm going to call it my own, just so that you can kind of see that you can actually enter whatever you want in there, okay? We're going to come down and we're going to say add that item. So what this does is now I still have my same PO. I now have one of my items that's in there. So technically, what right here, this 25, it is literally ready to sell right this second, okay? I'm going to take one more side trip and then I'm going to come right back to this PO. I just want to show you where this is at. Watch this. If I come up here to my items and I go INC, is that how you spell it? Yeah. IND, okay. So it's going to do a search real quick. And the vendor that I was doing this under was under Choose, huh? Okay, so here's the Chiba Choose. Here's my own barcode. Here's my Inca. And I currently have 25 under the gummy categories. Okay. Oh, looks like somebody else is following along. Like, That's okay, but just so you can see, like, I can tell that there's other people that are playing in the system right here. Okay, that's probably my own right there. But nonetheless, just so you can kind of see, I just wanted to show you right this second. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that PO that we were working on really quick. Just going to go home. There's multiple ways that you can actually do it, and I'm just trying to see if there's a link. Okay, I don't see a link. I'm just going to go through it this way just to show you. We'll go to the PO homepage. I just want to get back to the PO that we were working on. We took a side trip. Okay, so mine, I have no clue which one was mine. Okay, I did not put a reference number in there. You can kind of see that everybody's kind of, was mine 636? Okay, I'm just going to go into edit. Okay, cool. So this is the one that I did right here. So I'm right back where I needed to go. Let's do the next little item, okay? So the next one is the sativa. So I'm going to go SAT, enter. Oh, I don't have it. That's actually a good error message, okay? We take a side trip and we basically say, cool, I'm going to add it. I'm going to put in 25 of them, SAT IVA. We're going to monitor the quantities. I'm going to flip this. Is this also a gummy as well? Okay, I'm going to go back to gummy. Boom. And give me a description on this one.
Sativa, 74 milligram. 10 doses.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It doesn't have a flavor?
I mean, it's chocolate too.
Okay, I wasn't sure. The other one had chocolate. I was just curious. I'll put chocolate.
They're pretty much just Tootsie Rolls
Okay.
with cannabis in them. Indica into bed, sativa's your day. Hi, for
Okay.
your knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
Working man's weed.
Okay, so the cost on this was $7. Remember, this one was a little bit more. And I'm just going to check really quick. We said that we were going to sell it for $11. So I'll put $11 in my sale price. And as soon as I flip this, once again, it's going to calculate my profit there, okay? I'm at a 1.57 markup, basically a 36% tipping. Each taxable. And under barcode, do we want to physically scan something? Do we want to do auto, or do we want to enter our own?
One of my scamming things.
Sure, I'll just do a simple. Actually, you already created a couple right here. Why don't we just do this one, just for fun? Pretend that this is physically on the product, okay? So everything else is prepped and ready. So I prep. I'm ready to do the physical barcode scanner. As soon as I have my little barcode, say it's on the product, I get it ready, and I just go like this. Boop, and it'll enter it for me. Boop. Check this billing. Okay, somebody was already faster than I was, and they entered one because it didn't allow me to do that. So
That's
basically,
already an item in your system. I printed off a barcode example, so it does already exist within there. Sorry.
okay, no problem, no problem. So basically what that does to me is, watch this. I'm going to completely back out. It won't let me create a new one right now. So I'm going to say, whoa, if it already exists, I'm going to use that. I'm going to hit back one time, back again. So I'm right here, SAT, and I'm going to say search that item again. Oh, perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to do, okay? Now I'm going to add it as a basic line item. Does that make, can you guys see the difference there? One said, whoa, I didn't exist. And I think it's because we have multiple people who were playing in here that it kind of got added in. So I'm going to say add it as a basic line item. The actual category already exists, and now I wanted to just grab 25 new of those, okay? 25, bring it on, click. So here's my different pieces of my puzzle. Okay? And I have no clue if somebody else is on my same PO or whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this particular line right here. Click here to remove it. And I'm going to go back to my edit line items. I'm just trying to make it look pretty. Okay? So basically, we have a total of $325, 25, 25, 6, 7 of the Inca and the Sativa to the Chipa Chews, but I currently have a small disconnect. I can't have printable links. I have a check math flag, and I have a disconnect right here. It's not matching up. How do I fix that? Edit the main, okay? So just really quick on the edit the main, I'm going to do this really quick just so you can kind of see an idea. I zoomed out a little bit. Watch this. This is the main, and these are the line items. And you can have as many as you needed to have, okay? On a PO, you have the main, and then you have the line items. On an invoice, you have the main, the line items, and eventually a thing called payments. On POs you have payments, but we don't allow you to put them in right here too, okay? It's called one-to-many relationships, but hopefully it'll kind of help you know how the whole thing is kind of organized. I'm going to go ahead and erase my drawing. And I'll zoom back out as well. Okay, so technically I'm going to do edit the main. I'm going to fix my value. So I'm still on Basic Live, still have my new products, and here's my value, 325. 325, and I say edit. As soon as I've edited and it's happy, what I will actually get is no more flags. I now get printable options, and I now no longer have disconnects. Okay, so technically it's in there. That PO now exists. The other piece that comes along with that, those who are into accounting, guess what's now sitting out in my payables? A brand new one for Chiba Shoes for this amount. So watch this. If I actually click on payables right here, just to show me what I have for Chiba, looks like somebody else entered the same vendor, and I would have to click here to actually, like, we're playing on systems, so multiple people are kind of chiming in. But if I clicked on here, I could actually see if it was the 636. There's my little PO.
So now, if they charged you for freight on that, just say you had some freight for something that you bought, how do you add it to that?
Okay.
You have to go in and put the freight as a line item on your PO?
Okay, you have two options, and this will completely depend on how you like to roll it through, okay? Do you want the whole thing to be happy and right there on the PO, or do you want to kind of be like, cool, that was all my products, that's all I want to put on the physical PO, and then I'm going to just kind of put that I still owe them for this much for freight. Like, there's different ways of kind of breaking that up. What happens is eventually when you pay it back, your PO would be totally happy if you added line item, and freight, and it would be totally happy. The problem is when you go to pay that thing back, you want to make sure that you're paying it to the correct accounts, because your freight technically goes into a different payoff account than your inventory. So that's where it kind of gets a little bit of a thing. If you want to,
I normally wouldn't use it as a line item on my PO.
I would recommend not, but you can. But I would recommend not.
That said, so how do you add the freight to the payable?
Okay.
Put it in ER, wouldn't you?
Yep. So basically, what you could do. That's a wonderful question. Okay. Does everybody understand what the question is? Okay. So I can show you a couple different ways. One, if you added it physically to the PO, it'll automatically show itself up in here as under the payables. Okay. I'm going to do that first. And then what I'm going to do is kind of show you the other way, and what it is it totally comes down to preference as far as what you want to do as far as how that happens. So how much freight did we want on this PO?
Just take them out.
Okay, no problem. So watch this. I'm back on the exact same PO. I'm on 636. It's currently marked at 325. I have my items in here, and now I want to basically add freight. So I could go like this, FRE, freight, add it as a basic line item, and I'm going to just say quantity of 1, but I'm going to put it at 10 bucks. Okay, freight, boom, add it. So what happens here is basically now I've got a small disconnect again, okay, because I just upped it by $10. My freight is physically sitting on here. You can see that this is actually a completely different vendor, comes from the system, okay, it's kind of a system generated thing. Now what I would need to do is I would say edit the main, and I would just update this count so it's just a little bit higher so it actually includes the freight. And I'd say edit that PO. Now technically if I go to my payables section, right here, this is mine right here. See how it's now 335 that I owe instead of the 325? That's now part of my piece of the puzzle. When you pay for it, this is where it kind of gets a little bit trickier. If you're actually adding it to the PO, you would make 2 separate payments. One to pay off the inventory portion and one to pay off the freight portion. Like, it can still be under the same payment. You just need to categorize it a little bit different on the expense, because that's the mapping that actually goes to your P&L and or balance sheet, and that's on the expense side. We're going to be covering that on day 3 when we kind of get into expense receipts a little bit, okay? Yes?
We have a question from online, and maybe someone here can answer this better than we could. Lady's asking, as we are adding items of MMJ, can we have a section for milligrams of THC in those items, so as we add them into a purchase for patients, we can have a running total of how many grams said patient is purchasing in that order? And she said she was asking that because most patients have a limit of 2 ounces a day, while others have higher. I'm not sure how to answer the questions.
Do you mind reading it one more time? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's
I don't
fine.
really understand it.
I didn't. So she said, as we're adding items of MMJ, can we have a section for milligrams of THC in the, I think, associated with those items? So as we add them into a purchase for patients, we can have a running total of how many grams said patient is purchasing.
That would be something that it automatically does when you invoice the patient, because when you're inputting it, you're putting how many grams you're selling. So you would just set your quantity as grams as opposed to each when you're creating the physical item. And then when you input it, you obviously deal with grams. And then when you're selling it, you would just put 3.5, 4, whatever, because it's no longer units, it's now the actual weight.
Her lady's question, I think, was that she's got a patient that's got a high plant count. So let's just say they have 75, you know what I mean?
Oh, then that's under their patient information, under their flex grid, which you pull for to report your patient. So that's in a completely different section.
I think she
And it
wants
would-
to be able to track it, so if they walk out with 10 grams of 100 milligrams, she wants to know that that's 1,000 milligrams going on the floor, that's 1 gram. They're legally only allowed to leave the dispensary at 56 grams, and there's really no way for us to calculate it unless we literally sit down with the calculator. Because most of the stuff is in milligrams, there's 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram.
Well,
So that would be
may I
something we
interject
have.
something? Because on one of the systems that I work on, when you're building the product, you put the milligrams in there, so it's already in your inventory. So when it's sold, and that might be what she's asking, where do you put the milligrams? So when it is sold, it calculates it at the end of the sale, that you now have 56 grams sold.
So
And
that's
those
something
milligrams,
we
so
would
it's in the
add.
product buildup, where you put the milligrams for the items.
That helps us to kind of understand where you're coming from in a way that makes sense. So, good call. Well,
Yeah, that's brilliant.
if you have ideas, we'll put Shannon to typing, and we will record. We will record these ideas. Okay, so coming back to that PO, we needed to add a little bit of freight. We just wanted to make sure that our payables kind of went up to the correct amount. Alrighty. When we actually, on Thursday, when we're paying off those things, I would like to show you how you can physically distribute that so that it perfectly gets distributed just fine. That is one way you can do it. The other way you could do it was keep the PO at the $325 and then just put an expense receipt for $10 for freight and not pay it. And then that automatically shows up on the same thing. Hey, I'm a $10 that hasn't been paid either yet. So it kind of depends on how you want to run the system that way. So that was straightforward. We had to build a category, we had to build a vendor, we had to build 2 new items. Let's say the exact same process happened again. Do you guys want to see how fast it is? Watch this. Let's go home. Again, so we're brand spanking new, okay? I know I've got these pieces in here. Watch this. I can go here, vendor, CHE. I'll find my Chiba Chew, and there's tons of them. And I think that I probably did some address, so I'll pretend that this is mine. Create the PO, basic live, assign it to my thing, got more product. Okay, and let's say that we're roughly similar, let's say that it's the 325 again. 325, and yes, I do have them. Go. I'm going to get a brand new PO number, okay, 639. Now I can go like this, IND, it already exists. I say add it as a new line item. I got 25 of them. $6 still. I'm still super happy with everything. Add it. Okay. I come down. Basically, there's my first item. My next one was the sativa, SAT. Boom. Add it as a basic line item. And I come back and say 25 more of those. That one was at $7. Add that line item. So at this point, I now have 325, 2 items with multiple quantities, and I'm completely done. And now under my payables for this particular Chiba Chews, I now am at 660 instead of my 325. Okay. So once they're in there, it should go fairly quick to add these pieces once they're actually in there. It just takes a little bit to prep the system, if that makes sense. Awesome. So that was kind of start to finish on adding an item. Any questions on that?